Let's talk about the Hoka Torrent 2 trail running shoes. These are the Cotopaxi limited edition version. The only thing different about them is the colorway. Everything else is exactly the same as the normal Torrent 2. Let's jump into the specs. So first of all, these shoes are £110. That's the same for both the normal and limited edition version. The drop is 5mm and they weigh 264 grams. They're a neutral shoe, and on Hoka's cushioning scale, they're labelled as responsive. They come in 9 different colours for men and 5 different colours for women. They have the ProFly midsole, which gives you a forgiving landing and a responsive toe off. They also have the Reprieve recycled mesh upper. And finally, they have these multi-directional lugs plus sticky rubber outsole. I've got these shoes in a size 9. I'm normally a size 8. I always find Hoka's come in a little bit small, so I usually go half a size up. I actually decided to go a whole size up on these, and I think that was the right choice. So let's talk about some things that I really like about this shoe. So first off, we've got responsiveness. This shoe is really responsive, and I absolutely love that because it's something that I find with Hoka that's not very common. Often they have this massive stack height and they're very cushioned. I said that on their cushioning scale, these are responsive. I find the Hoka cushioning scale is far more cushioned than any other shoe. What they call responsive is usually quite plush for any other shoe brand, whereas these are actually very responsive, and I really like that. I find that you really can put some speed in, but you've still got some cushion, which is really nice. Next up is the comfort on these shoes. These are a really comfortable shoe. I think the fact that they're a size up actually adds to that comfort. I often find my toes really cramped in a Hoka shoe, and I get a lot of blisters. However, this is the first Hoka shoe where I haven't developed loads of blisters, and I think that's due to them being a whole size up. It's something that I really like. Along with the cushioning and the responsiveness, I think that comfort really lends itself to being a really great trail shoe. So next up is the toe box. Now this is probably a thing with it being a whole size up, because as I've said, in Hoka shoes I usually find that my toes are really squashed in. However, in these I find I've got enough room, which is really nice. I do think that's because I've gone a size up. However, just because I've gone a size up, it's now the right size for me. So I'm just a 9 in Hoka shoes, which is absolutely fine. And when I go up to the 9, the toe box is really comfortable and leaves me loads of room. And also, I can actually start to sort of dig in and use my toes when I'm on the trail, and that complements the responsiveness of this shoe. So my final like for these is the mesh upper. The first thing I like about it is the fact that it's recycled. I think that's absolutely amazing, but also it's extremely breathable. On hot days, these don't overheat. It's great. There's loads of airflow to your foot. The tongue's not too thick, so you don't have all this bulkiness, and that's really nice. They're also really good for draining water. Some trail shoes, they can get a little bit bulky, and then when you get them wet, they get really heavy. This doesn't seem to have that problem. There's not too much bulk on it, so what you find is that the water drains out really quickly and they're back to being a really light, responsive shoe. Okay, dislikes. I've got a couple, let's jump into them. So one of the things I absolutely love about Hoka is their plush heel. I absolutely love that. I find most of their shoes have this really nice heel which really relieves any strain on your Achilles. This shoe, however, doesn't have that. I find this heel really harsh. It sort of digs in a little bit. It doesn't have that really sort of plushness. It's not super harsh, but it is harsh when you're running on it, especially on a trail shoe, because I find compared to a road shoe, your foot moves around a lot more on the trail, so you can be up on rocks or things like that, and this heel really does start to dig in, which is a bit of a shame. The rest of the shoe is really comfortable, but I find the heel just a little bit uncomfortable, and it digs in and rubs quite a bit. I wish it really had the plush heel like something like the Clifton 7 does. So my next dislike is the traction. So they say they've got these multi-directional lugs and this sticky outsole. However, I don't find that so much. I find myself slipping around a lot on these. I think rocks is not too bad, but wet rocks, it's not great. And then any mud, these lugs just don't bind, and I find myself slipping around all the time. So if I've got a really muddy trail run, I try to avoid using these shoes because I'm just a little bit worried. I've slipped a lot and fallen over quite a bit in these shoes, and I'm not fully comfortable with the traction on them, so that's a real downside for me. However, on hard packed trails, these are really good because of that responsiveness, and they do bind well. It's just when you get to that slippy mud that these are just really unstable. So my final dislike is the laces. Now this is a bit of a annoying one because I have to go a whole size up to get the shoe to fit me correctly. I think I end up with slightly longer laces on the shoe, and what I find is that actually these laces are just too long, so I can often find that it hangs over the edge, and if you're running on a really complex trail and you're quite tight, your feet are narrow, you can step on the laces of your other shoe, and that basically sends you flying, which is really annoying. Now these are tied quite tight, and this is where I have the problem, is that although it's a bigger shoe, I still need to tie them tight and lock down that upper to keep my foot in place. However, I end up with so much excess lace, it's really annoying. So for me, I prefer it if they put on some slightly shorter laces. It's a really weird, odd thing to request and not something that I thought I would think about. So for me, I think actually these shoes would be much better if I just replaced the laces and put some other ones on that were a bit better sized. So overall, I do think this is a really good trail shoe, especially for the price. Coming in at £110, they're quite a bit cheaper than a lot of the top-end trail shoes. So I think for a training shoe, especially on dry days, these are a really great one to go for. They're okay on the road, the lugs do wear down, so if you're running to the trail, these are ones that you can do on the road. However, you will wear those lugs down quite quickly. If you're not convinced that these are the trail shoe for you, then I've got a review of the On Running Cloud Ultras up here, and I've also got a review of the Under Armour Machina trail shoes down here. So have a look at either one of them and see if those shoes suit you. Remember to like, subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of when I upload. If you've got any questions, drop them in the comments below and I'll see you in the next one.